straight to the top, never going down, don't drop. Stand still to the brand new bands with an auto. Foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy like lotto. Yeah, I'm tired of this quiet, like when it's Seinfeld block. Ball full of songs, all of them look like a minefield. Got boom. Hey, tickets running out quick. Bet it, big. Said it, never had it. Said I couldn't ever do it. Okay, I'll tweak with the work in a minute. Machine behind, stay efficient. Do this for indifferent. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Flows the same. Now the snakes and fakes and chased out. Back, gotta change the pace now. Had to stack the cabinets out. Straight, never going down. Don't wait for the. Well,
Why it does this to me? And sorry, go to the next one.
Here we go. Well,
There
I
we
think
go.
Tim, well, welcome, Tim. I think it is 1 o'clock. I'm not sure how many people we've got on the call. So welcome to everyone.
70 at the moment.
Okay. I think in the interest of productivity, we might get started and the others can join straight away. So to all of you joining us today, thank you very much. It's a warm welcome because this is our very first of our Impact at Work webinars. And we know how precious your time is. So thank you very much for choosing us today. My name is Jonathan Thompson, and I work at Impactful, a specialist IT learning solutions partner that assists our clients in building that sought after technology skills and capabilities. So today's topic, we might have heard about a lot. It's all about taking productivity to the next level and introducing CoPilot for Microsoft 365. And I think we all might have dabbled a little bit in ChatGPT, and a lot of the experts are debating the merits of CoPilot for Microsoft 365. I think they're all unanimous in terms of the productivity gains that you can have by using it. As I mentioned in my introduction, this is the first in a series of Impact at Work webinars we're going to be hosting. The next is going to be on data visualization, which will be using Power BI and Excel, and the art of storytelling to extract those nuggets out of all that gigabytes of data that you might be sitting on. A few house rules today. Please make sure you can turn your microphones off because we do have quite a large group. Please let's make the session interactive. So put any comments or questions you might have in the chat, and we might have some time for a Q&A at the end of the session. We will be sharing the recording and Tim's details for all of you at the end. So if you have any specific questions you'd like to pose to Tim, please go ahead. And then finally, we really value your feedback. There will be a survey at the end, and so please be honest. And I think for a lot of us who've been watching that series on Mnet called Chasing the Sun, just like Rassi, don't hold back. Please tell us what we are doing well and what we can improve on. A little bit about our expert today, Tim Keys. He's been an ambassador and a user adoption specialist for Microsoft 365 since its launch, and is currently working in the same capacity for CoPilot. He is our Microsoft portfolio manager and has a deep understanding of all Microsoft products and is contracted by Microsoft to do sales and licensing training globally and in South Africa. If you ask our clients, his greatest strength is helping people use the products to get their maximum potential, thereby getting full value for their investments. And if you don't believe me, please visit his LinkedIn profile because he's got over 8,000 followers. When he's not in training, Tim is busy on the hockey field, coaching and umpiring juniors, another area that he is particularly passionate about. So I think enough from me, Tim. Please won't you all sit back and enjoy the next hour with our co-pilot, Tim. So over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Only problem when you do this virtually is I can't run from the back, with lights flashing and music blazing. But, if you can just imagine that, that'd be very good. Great to be here with everybody. As you heard, my name is Tim Keys. I am a portfolio manager, and today I want to talk to you about CoPilot for Microsoft 365. You will notice when you hear me talking about this product, I'm incredibly passionate about it. I've been using it for the last month in my own work, as well as a lot of the early pilot programs that I was involved in with Microsoft. Just to make sure, can everybody hear me? I'm getting one or two people saying they can't hear me. Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're good.
Mamatala, it must be from your side. Maybe you might need to restart. There are a few people saying they can't hear. Can somebody just type in the chat there? Just tell them to restart back into Teams. Hopefully that'll work. All right. So if you need anything from me, my email address, tim.keys@impactful.co.za. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. So number one, Microsoft is their own worst enemy when it comes to naming conventions. They tend to call everything by the same name, which causes a little bit of confusion. So we'll talk about the different versions of CoPilot that are available. And then we'll talk a little bit about why you need CoPilot, and a very important trick you need to know if you have Microsoft 365. And then the reason we're here today is I need to introduce you to Microsoft, or the Copilot for Microsoft 365, which will change your life, guaranteed. And I'm going to show you how this is done in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. I'm just going to show you just how big, how much more you can do with this product, how productive it makes you, how creative it makes you. As I said, I can't stop gushing enough about it. You can't believe how much it's helped me in my work. So let's just answer this first question. So what is Copilot? So I know you know about ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT a little while ago, not even a year ago, ChatGPT exploded on the market, known as generative AI. Effectively, what it does is it's a very clever search engine that can find a whole lot of information and return the results as a conversational inputs, which means instead of getting access to a whole lot of websites, you're getting access to information. And that information is put together in a way that just makes sense. So I'm sure you've worked with ChatGPT. You can give me a thumbs up if you have. But the idea would be, how do we get information more quickly? Now, the difference with what I want to show you today is Microsoft very cleverly, right in the beginning, Microsoft did the deal with the company called OpenAI, which are the people who own ChatGPT, and they licensed it from them. So the first point I want to make is, if you're currently using ChatGPT, you really want to move on to Microsoft Edge, which is Microsoft's browser, and use Copilot. Reason being, if you're using the free version of ChatGPT, you're using version 3.5, which is 18 months old. If you want to use version 4, you have to pay $20 for a month for the privilege. So if you are using Copilot, you are using version 4. The other thing that I'm going to show you today is when you integrate the Copilot with the Microsoft 365 products, which is called Copilot for Microsoft 365, all of a sudden you have access both internally and externally. In other words, I can source documents and conversations and resources and access to my CRM and all sorts of tools internally inside my business, and I can go find information outside. And that's the game changer with Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is what I want to show you today. How do you use Copilot straight out of Word, PowerPoint, Outlook? You're not copying and pasting anything. It's happening straight out of the products. So that's the power of Copilot for Microsoft 365. So the idea is to boost efficiency and open up new opportunities. What we're aiming for is creativity and innovation. Now, why do we need this? I don't know if you've heard of this concept called digital debt. Digital debt is the amount of time we are wasting on these devices of ours. So if you are spending way too much time processing emails, according to the research, we're spending 3 times the amount of time right now on Teams than we used to. We just permanently in meetings, and certainly it happens to me. The other one is we've got so busy, we are having to do more with less time, that we've just got no energy left. So this comes from the Work Trend Index, where people are just really tired. They're spending way too much time responding to emails, attending Teams meetings that they don't even need to be at, where actually they just need the information from the meetings. And then the third one is the more you are getting me communicating and doing all of the day-to-day bits, the less I am creating, innovating, and doing my job effectively. So think about if I could buy you an hour a day, what would you do with that time? And that's exactly what you're going to get here. Effectively, I'm giving you a digital PA, or Microsoft is, it's not me, but you're getting a digital PA for using the CoPilot. Now, it's really important to understand why this has exploded and what versions are available to you. If you look at how long it took for digital phones or mobile phones, internet, Facebook, etc., it took years for people to embrace those technologies. ChatGPT within 3 months had 100 million followers. That's how this has exploded, how people have seen the value of this concept of generative AI, which is conversational AI. 65% of businesses are looking at investing. They've said it immediately. They're looking at investing in AI technologies like this. So this is the start of one heck of an explosion. This is the next big thing. I don't think we'll even recognize our IT in a year's time. Now, what you need to understand about Copilot, and this is an incredibly important concept, is there are two elements to Copilot. The first one is access to web data. So this is similar to what you would know with ChatGPT. This is where you would go into Microsoft browser called Edge. Very important, you need to log in with your 365 account if you have that 365 account. And that will allow you to run your queries inside of the browser, but in a secure way, which I'll explain in a second. You can get it through Windows 11, and you can also get it in one or two other ways that Microsoft's making available. But the one I want to show you is Copilot with the protection. And then the second one is Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is the one that I said will look at internal data and it'll look at external data. So let's look at what that means so you can get an idea. So if you look at the various versions available, when you go straight into the Edge and you use ChatGPT or Copilot, that is the large language model. It's the same as what you would use, and it's AI-powered web search. Now, here's the big difference between ChatGPT and Copilot. Copilot, because of Microsoft's obsession with protection of intellectual property, Copilot will always reference the source. So the problem with ChatGPT right now is it doesn't reference where it gets the information from. So potentially you might be breaking copyright. You don't even know you're doing it. With Copilot, you will get what they have here, AI-powered web search. Now, the reason Microsoft can do that and Google can do that is because they own the web, the search functionality. So the first thing you want to do is move from the Google search or the ChatGPT, you want to move into using the Copilot. Then, if you have Microsoft 365, a subscription, I'll show it to you now. If you log into Microsoft 365, you will get full protection of your data internally. Now, let me explain why this is important. Let's say you come up with a really good business idea, and now you want to build out marketing material on this great idea. You go to ChatGPT, you paste your information in there, and you say, ChatGPT, please turn this into a business plan. That information becomes exposed to the large language model. You're not getting protected. So when you are asking questions and you're putting stuff in, that information goes and starts training up the large language model. So unless you're going to pay extra money for the security that's offered by the version 4, you've got to be careful of what you're putting into the search or the prompt. Now, when you have Microsoft 365, you immediately, and as part of your licensing, you get commercial data protection. So this is switched on your Microsoft 365 environment by default, or I'm sure your administrators would know this. So what it means then is the commercial data protection will make sure that no information leaves your internal company. It will also not save your searches, your prompts. So if you want to keep your prompts, you have to export it to Word or whatever you're going to use, or you could, copy and paste it. So by default, it's not going to keep your prompts because then no one else gets access to that information. So that's what we call CoPilot with commercial data protection. If you have Microsoft 365 licenses, part of the agreement. Now, the one I'm showing you gives you that, then gives you enterprise security, compliance, and privacy. What that means is it now protects documents and information inside your network. So when you have Copilot for Microsoft 365, you get a higher level of security, document management, compliance that enforces certain rules. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail there, but the other two things you get, the one's called Graph. Now, what Graph does is it provides a connector to all your products. So you can go into Copilot for Microsoft 365, and you could be in PowerPoint and you can bring in Word or OneNote or Teams data or OneDrive or SharePoint. You can bring in any of those data sources. If you have the right connectors, you can connect to your ERP, your CRM, all of these things. And when you start working in PowerPoint or Word, you can bring all that information and populate it into the PowerPoint slide or the Word document. So I'm going to show you that later. It's done through Graph. That's the technology. And then you get the integration with the apps. So now instead of having to copy and paste, you get Copilot inside of Outlook, for example, where you say, please write me an email with these conditions, or create some kind of proposal for me in Word, or in Teams, I can get a whole lot of source of data and build a table that we can talk about. So that's the logic of apps integration and Graph. Now, you need to understand the licensing here. Copilot with commercial data protection, you need a Microsoft 365 license. There is one other way, which I'll explain now, but you need a Microsoft 365 license for that. Copilot for Microsoft 365, this integration into Office, you require a license, a subscription, which is $30 per user per month. Now, that sounds like a bit of a whack of cash till you take into account that if you want ChatGPT, the enterprise, you're already spending $20. So for an extra $10 per user per month, you're getting all of this internal integration that I'm going to show you a little bit later, but it's going to blow your mind. Now, there's only one caveat here I must mention, and we are fighting with Microsoft about this. They only allow you to take this as an annual license. So you aren't able to pay it off monthly, unfortunately. The real reason for that is they've invested so heavily in Copilot. This is their way of getting their money back as quickly as they can. So we've given them the feedback that they're losing business because they're not allowing the monthly fee. And so they've said they'll come back to us about this. But right now you have to take it the full year. The good news, though, is once you've taken the pain and you've paid the money, you will have access to it for the year. So let me show you what I'm talking about so that you don't get confused. Now, this is commercial data protection. If you go to copilot.microsoft.com right now, this is what your view would look like. The difference is you'll notice that I'm logged in as tim.keys@impactful, which means that I now have all my data protected. So now this information won't leave where I am. So I can run as many of these prompts as I like. There's no security problem. And then you can see it's the same as what you'd be used to. Ask me anything, creative, balanced, or precise. You can use the notebook, which would give you, more detailed answers. So this is Copilot with commercial data protection. It's purely external web-based search or web-based prompting. Now, that sounds like, oh, is that all? But think about what you can do if you know what you're doing with your prompts. And I'm going to stress this the whole way through the session, is that the power of CoPilot and generative AI is in how you write the prompts. So let me give you some things that you could potentially do if you know what you're doing. And by the way, you're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. I did a presentation yesterday at a sales conference about 10 things that salespeople can use the CoPilot for. And the guys were gobsmacked about just how powerful this tool can be. So if you want to look at what you do here, number one, this Entra ID is the way it gets secured. So don't worry about the technology. Everything isn't saved. You have to keep a copy of it, but you are protected. You are looking at the latest version of ChatGPT. And if you're wondering what DALL-E is, that's the part that generates the pictures, video. And the other part is that everything is cited. And to me, I feel very strongly about that, being somebody who generates content for a living, is that all data is cited, so there's no breaking of copyright. Now, on top of that, think about if you're really clever, you can bring in a long PDF and say, summarizes, please. You can draft emails and social content. You just need to copy and paste it into those tools. You can generate images. You can learn new skills, and you can get answers for very specific complex questions. So whatever you're doing right now in ChatGPT, you can do it in CoPilot, but you want that level of protection. I'm just going to say it one more time, no extra money. It comes with a Microsoft 365 subscription, and an Entra ID subscription. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions yet, so I'm assuming you're either asleep or everything makes sense so far, or you are busy making yourself a cup of coffee. Okay, so let's move on to why we're here, which is CoPilot for Microsoft 365. As I said that, somebody dropped off. Do you think I hurt somebody's feelings? It's funny. So CoPilot for Microsoft 365 is now all embedded inside of the apps. So the point I'm making is you are not leaving Word with CoPilot for Microsoft 365. And I will talk about some of my experiences where I've used this product. It's incredible when you are creating content straight out of Word. And you type your content, you click on the CoPilot symbol, you ask it a question, you insert that content. You ask it to create a table that comprises of all of these things. You click on a button, you say, yes, I want that, please, and then it goes. You can't believe how much faster you do stuff. And then Excel's going to blow your mind. Because if I used to teach Excel for a living. I was the Lotus 1, 2, 3 person. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, then you're probably at my age. So I was the Lotus 1, 2, 3 guy, and then moved into Excel. And if you know Excel, you needed to. I see a few of you can relate. So if you know Excel, you had to know all the formulae. You need to. Thanks, Kevin. You needed to know how to write macros. You needed to know how to filter and pivot tables and how to create charts. It kind of kept us, making money. But now what happens with Excel, you just tell it what to do. So you say, can you create this for me, please? Multimate, Janine, that takes me back. So Word and Excel, PowerPoint, again, create PowerPoints based on Word documents, based on topics. You can ask it to change designs. Incredible. And then Outlook, you can, straight out of Outlook, ask it to send emails. You can ask it to respond to emails. You can ask it to summarize emails, and you can look for high impact, high importance emails. Again, I get through my emails in a third of the time than what I used to, and I'm far more effective, and I'm able to manage my time far better. And then the one that I particularly like is Teams. So I'm going to show you all of this. Now, what I'd like to do is go through, good question, Alan. Let me answer that. You're asking about the Visio. They're adding CoPilot to most of the products. So what I will do is I'll have a look at Visio specifically, and what the integrations are there. The one I've been looking at recently is the Power Tools, which is really, really powerful. I was looking the other day where it was integrated with Forms, for example. So let me come back to you on the Visio. I haven't really spent time on that. So I'm going to just give you an idea in these tools of what you can do, and then I'm going to show you. So I'm going to look at these elements in the demo. The first one is, and I want to build these scenarios for you. How many times are you called into meetings that conflict? So now you have to be, in fact, I've got one right now where I was asked to be in a meeting to discuss something and I'm sitting here. A lot of the time, people don't actually need my contribution. They just need my, comments or some kind of, for your information. So please, just be in the meeting in case. Now, if you have that duplication, I'm going to show you now, there's a brand new feature that's going to come in soon into Teams and Outlook, where at the same time, you can follow one meeting and you can be in another Teams meeting. And the minute the meeting's finished, you'll get an email that'll say, Tim, here's the meeting. This is what we covered. This is what you need to do next. And this is a summary. And then I can interrogate the transcript and I can say, it seems that this, can you tell me more about it? Or how did people feel about this topic? Or, were there any tasks that were particularly given to me? Was anything demonstrated? So you can actually interrogate the meeting without actually being in it. So think about how much time that saves you, where sometimes you don't have to be in the Teams meeting, you just need the info. Now, the last thing you want to do is go watch that video and sit for an hour. So you can quickly catch up on meetings you missed, can summarize a meeting, identify next steps. So inside of your Teams, you can say, what have I missed? Or summarize this meeting, or please tell me what I need to do next. And it, by the way, in the next little while, currently it's in a different version of Teams, but in the next little while, it'll do a lot of this automatically for you. So it allows you to run a very effective meeting. Data analysis, you get answers from your data. I'll show you the insight. Ridiculous. All you do is click on a button, say, show me insights, please. And it runs 6 to 8 different charts of insights and trends and analyses. Create powerful visualization. So you can take data, you can say, create a chart, please. And the chart must look like this. Powerful stuff. Content creation, so easy to create. Word documents, PowerPoint documents. Catch up on key points, so you can summarize the documents. You can say, what are the key points of this Word document? What tasks have been assigned to me, if any? What are the highlights of this document? And you can create documents, presentations, charts, and tables on the fly. Anybody worked with Microsoft Office and Word and tables? This will make you feel much easier. It creates the tables for you. Email processing, draft emails instantly. So draft and draft responses. The response one's hilarious because it picks up the tone of the person who sent the email. And it has a look at other emails where you've spoken to this person. So, and it can also reference previous emails. So when it creates the response, it can give it to you in the tone of the person who's writing the email. And then quickly summarize a long email thread. So I'm going to show you all of this. Ron, that question's a really important one. Do you mind if I cover it once we're done with the demo? I really want to talk to that question. Right, so let's talk to the Teams meetings. So the first thing that I said to you is inside of Teams, I can join a meeting or I can follow a meeting without actually being in it. Now, this is the typical Teams view that you will start getting. Now, I just want to say that this is being integrated now. So there was a product which was a higher version of Teams. That's all getting integrated into the standard Teams with CoPilot for 365 as we're talking. So if you go and look at this, you might not see all of this yet. Please contact me and I'll give you dates that it's getting rolled out. But it's in the next couple of months. So CoPilot in Teams meeting What happens here is you get intelligent recap. So what you can see at the top here, any content that was shared, all notes that were shared through the transcript. Now that is happening now already, by the way. The being able to query the transcripts and getting the summary. That's already happening. The only thing is you have to switch on recording and transcripts, of course. So here you can see the meeting notes, follow-up tasks, and on the left-hand side, when certain people spoke and when they were referenced. The video itself will also break up into chapters in the same way. So you don't have to watch the entire video. You can go to the video where a person shared their screen or where you were mentioned or tasks were assigned. So it creates these markers. Then on the right-hand side, you can see that I can query that meeting. So I can ask questions like, how did people feel about a topic? It'll give me citations of who said what in the what period of time, in the, what information is available. Sorry, I'm looking at Rion's comment there. Rion, it's unlimited. So Rion's saying that he talks a lot in meetings. So you can see here, it can build a table. Give me the pros and cons. Give me the tasks. So you can query it. So that's the first thing you can do with meetings. Think about how this is going to help you. The next one is I can go into the chat and I can, inside chat while we're talking, I can bring together data. I say, go to the CRM, go to the ERP, go to my notes, go to emails, go to our chats, and please build this out. So you can see here, it's found a data source and it's in the group chat, which by the way is in a channel or in a standard chat. It's integrated all of that data. So I've said, what are the quarter 1 projections? It's integrated all of that into a Teams chat while we're talking. So if you create a Teams chat, a group, and you need to talk about a specific customer, you can input all the information about the customer across everybody who's interacted with the customer and think about a plan. So what this is doing is Microsoft wants you to use Teams to communicate and collaborate. I don't know if you've noticed in the latest Teams, even your emails integrated. So it's wanting you to have Teams as your entry place for your intranet, your emails, your conversations, your documents, your conversations with other people, anytime you are communicating and collaborating. So what happens here is I can bring in any of this information into a Teams chat. I can summarize chats that I've had, and I can bring in data and recreate it. Going to show you an example of that now. Now in Outlook, what happens, I really love this, is you can catch up. In other words, your unread messages, the messages that are marked as highly important, you can run a catch up and pick up the most important emails. So you can then decide which ones do I need to look at, and then I can summarize those emails, see what the most important points are. I can then respond to those emails and ask Outlook to write the email for me, and I can use CoPilot to write from the beginning. I do want to answer this question. Question is, can CoPilot translate other languages? Answer is yes. So Teams has transcripts in multiple languages, and CoPilot does support translation. I can't tell you how good it is. I'll have to go and ask some people. So that's what you can do if you are working with the emails. Recent emails, flag important ones, draft responses, and then you can also tell it to edit it. So if it writes a response, you don't like the length, you say, please reduce this to 100 words, break it up into 3 columns, turn that into bulleted points, and it'll do all of that automatically. You really want to start using this product. Incredible. Now, this is the Excel. So now what I'm doing is I am analyzing trends, breaking it down. So in this case, what I'm asking Copilot to do is give me the key trends. So what it's saying on the right-hand side here is your sales are trending up, manufacturing costs are down, and low discount products make up nearly half of your total sales. So it's giving me the trends of this data. I can say, tell me how many sales we've done in the US. Or I can say, create a trend analysis on this thing. Create a chart. Break this up into every salesperson, the sales they've done for the last quarter. So instead of having to know how to use pivot tables and know how to filter and know how to write queries, and my good friend, the VLOOKUP, you know what I'm talking about if you've done Excel, the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP and all of that lookups, all of this can be done now through clever prompting. I'm going to show it to you now in the demo. It's really clever. And then the CoPilot in Word. So create a proposal based on my notes in OneNote yesterday and included a Word document from here. There it creates a draft. Now, again, how long would it take you to build something like that? How do you build an executive summary? So you can say, based on the document, will you please create an executive summary for me? So it'll summarize your document. X lookup there, Yaku. You caught me there. I was desperately trying to remember the letter. So VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP is now X lookup. You win the prize. So the CoPilot in Word can help you create the proposal or any Word documents you need to create. Think about creating reports where you have to now create a report based on, and you can access all those stored areas and create the document. This is going to save you so much time. And then this is a PowerPoint. Look how easy it is to create a PowerPoint slide. So I'm saying I'd like you to create a PowerPoint slide based on that proposal. Now, this one I just want to talk to you about. I use this. So the other day, I was training and I ran out of time. So I only had a day to create the PowerPoint slides. So I took my learning guide and I thought, well, let me test this. And I took the learning guide and I did exactly this. I said, please create a learning guide for me from this document in PowerPoint. I'm telling you that I only had to edit for 15 minutes because it created the most brilliant slides because I had a very specific template it used. So it took our impactful template and it built the slides based on our template. And then it created speaker notes from my document. So it took me 15 to 20 minutes to just polish up the presentation. That saved me at least a half day to a day of work. So it's incredibly powerful what you can do with PowerPoint. And then you can say, I really don't like this. It's too many words. Please create a smart art that does this, or create a table that does this, or add some bulleted points, or can you figure out another way of doing it? Yeah, can I just ask two questions that's come up here? So Jackie asked about, can you ask for specific chart? Yes. And we can talk about how that works. And then Amanda says, can you create minutes out of this? Yes. You can tell it to please create minutes out of this meeting. In fact, what it creates for you is really, really close to minutes. Okay, now this is the last slide before I actually show you this. So Microsoft internally, they would actually be a little bit cross if they knew I showed you the slide. But anyway, they looked internally about when they started piloting CoPilot. They said, what are the returns that we're finding? So don't worry too much about end caps and things like that. But these are the kind of numbers that they picked up. So the productivity, look at this, 87% more productive, able to focus on important work, gave me time to flow. By the way, that is the awesome part of this thing, where you're busy writing. It is so entertaining that I can't stop myself. So I joked about this yesterday. I used to be absolutely addicted to Netflix, and I would binge watch for hours on Netflix. Now I'm binging on this because I get so into my writing. I am building such incredible quality of work because I'm researching as I'm writing. So instead of having overwhelming information, yesterday I was looking at something and I typed in a question. took me down the most beautiful road of information that I'm now applying in one of my new courses. And I did it straight out of Word on the fly while I was writing my content. So it definitely makes work so much more fun and satisfying. And the part I love is the mundane stuff so much easier. You know, the stuff that you think, why am I doing this? And then value by workflow, the less time searching, meetings are a hell of a lot more efficient, far less time processing, emails easier to get going on writing. Yeah, very good question. The question around copyright, if you don't mind, I'm also going to talk about that at the end. Very good question about duplication or plagiarism. So I really want to talk about that at the end because of there's something I want to highlight. And then value by role and function is the amount of time they are saving. Now, this was a study done where 30 minutes of time saved in an average size organization worked out to $500,000 in that study just by buying people 30 minutes a day, because they were able to spend time with customers, be creative, innovate, etc. Doing tasks a heck of a lot faster, simplified tasks, reclaim time. So what I want to do before I answer those questions is I would like to take you through a demo of just how this works. So what I'm going to do is take it through a couple of environments that typically might happen in a day. All right. So here we're in a call. I'm sitting in Microsoft Teams and I was late. So I think, Jonas, I need to know what's happened. So I click on CoPilot in Teams. And immediately what it's going to do here is it's going to open the CoPilot on the right-hand side. All right. Then I say, please, won't you recap the meeting so far? So now CoPilot runs that and it recaps the meeting as it's happened to this point. So instead of saying, people, what did I miss? It's saying we spoke about these three things. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to ask specific questions about the inventory status. How do people feel about this? So now I'm saying, how does a group feel about the inventory status? I click on that, and now it's going through the transcript, and it's telling me what people said and how they felt about it. So now it says they're a bit mixed feelings. So then I say, well, are there any other unresolved questions? So were there questions that were asked that weren't answered, like now? So I click on what questions are unresolved, gives me those answers. How's that? So I showed you earlier the ability to follow meetings, to get the information, etc. But this is just another use of Teams. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is how you use Microsoft Outlook. So now you can see that there's quite a big conversation that I am having with Kevin. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. I want to catch up on this conversation with Kevin. So, and I'm sure you've had this, eh? Where you end up with 20 emails and for the life of you, you can't remember how this started. So now I want to know this whole email train, which is long. Just give me the summary, please. So I click on summary by CoPilot. It then gives me, this is what's happening so far. Now here's the clever bit. It then will give the citation of where I got that information from in the train. So if this happened right in the beginning of the conversation, I can then click on the citation and you can see it's taken me to that particular email. So what that means is I can now summarize all these emails. If I want to respond to this, I can now respond based on the summary. So that then means, you know, it allows me very quickly to manage my emails. Now, as I said, you can, you know, you can write emails on the fly, you can respond to emails on the fly. And then when you get clever, you can start figuring out how to manage your time more effectively and respond to the most important elements. Right, so that's what you can do in Outlook. And now I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg here. Now the next one is we sitting in Word, and this is the one I love. So we are now going to write a proposal. So this is the one I referenced earlier, is I want to write a proposal. So I type in here, I want you to create a project proposal, please. And I want you to use this data from the Contoso construction planning document. So I click on that, and I click on generate. And now what it's going to do, go find another document for me, but it's going to put this into a proposal format. Now, again, how long would this take you to do? So it's now introduction, project scope, project timelines, now finishing up. And watch here. So now this is what I was saying, it's straight out of Word. I'm looking at it there and I'm saying, yep, I want to keep it. So I click on the keep it button. And now you can see that I have now built this document. Now, the other thing that I can do is I can now paste information from CoPilot. So here I'm going to go to the paste button, and it will allow me to paste specific CoPilot information. So if I go down here, so I'm just going on to the bottom, you can see here under technologies, it's taken me there. I've now got the little CoPilot icon. I click on it, and it's now going to create a insert a paragraph. Now, what it does here is I don't know what to say. So I'm saying, I tell you what, based on everything that we've done, I would like you to insert like a summary of something. So I'd like you to make a recommendation, please. So I click on Inspire Me, and based on the document, will then add more information it feels is missing. How powerful is that? So it's looking at information or style or value that you might not have mentioned, and it'll insert it. Now, my question is, how does it know what information to insert? And here's the clever thing, that when you're using 365 Copilot for 365, as you are using this, you are teaching the machine. So that large language model, the modules that the machine that you are using that is protected, the whole time that you're doing this work, it's actually figuring out who you are, what you do, what you like, what your style is, how you write. So it's actually getting better and better over time as it learns more about you, to the point now that when I start creating proposals, I don't even have to type in half the stuff, because it already knows what I do, already knows what I focus on. So half the time now, I'm not even having to build fancy, prompts. It's actually doing it for me. Okay, so that's what I can do in Word. And then just to finish off, there are two that I want to show you what you can do in PowerPoint. So here, introducing CoPilot. So I'm going to get started. And again, I just say, create this file. I want you to create a PowerPoint out of this file, please. And I choose this particular one, and I say, off you go. And this is what I said the other day it did for me. So it then created the slide deck with speaker notes. Now, the last thing that I keep bragging about is Excel. Let me show you this. So now I'm sitting in CoPilot with Excel. And now I want to ask it about specifically, or I want to clean up this document. Sorry, I forgot about this part. I really don't like those decimals. So normally you got to find the icon. I just say, take away the decimals, please. So I don't have to select anything. I don't have to select all and try and find it. Immediately, it's removed all the decimals. Then the next thing I'm asking you to do is any gross sales over 500,000, please mark in yellow. Now, for those of you who are terribly clever, you will know this is conditional formatting. So look what I do is I say, if it's over 500,000, I want you to mark it, please. And bam, there it is. It's now given me conditional formatting without knowing all the conditional formatting techniques. It's going to put us out of business. The other one here is where we're talking about insights. I then say, I'd like you to show me the insights for my data. I say show insights. It then shows it on the right-hand side and asks me if I want to create a new table or a new sheet. So then I say, I would like you to add these insights to a new sheet, please. And it takes all of the insights that's generated for me and has put it into a new sheet. So here, this is done automatically, but as somebody asked, you can, if you use the right prompts, you can then, create your own. Okay. Now,
Sorry,
for the
Tim.
sake of time, yes.
Oh, sorry, Tim. I was just going to say we've got 10 minutes left, and I think there are a couple of
Yeah.
questions that might be useful to answer. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much time
So,
you're going to go on for.
yeah. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to show you the Teams component because we've talked through a lot of it already. So just before we take the questions, I just want to end just with a couple of points about why you're here. So there is a little bit here where we want to whet your appetite. If you want to learn the Copilot for Microsoft 365, you've got to play with it. You've got to try it. So Microsoft released last month a series of 4 Microsoft official curriculum courses. And you can talk to us about them. But the 2 I want you to see is Empower Your Workforce with Copilot for Microsoft 365 use cases. So what this will do is it'll allow you to understand how sales, finance, etc. can use it. So it's a deep dive in Copilot. The other one is about writing prompts. And I'm telling you, writing prompts is the most important thing here, is how do you write prompts? So we've put together a bundle of these 2 courses. They are end user, not technical. Please, there's no technical in here. It's end user focused. There are technical courses. These aren't them. This is for end users. And what we're wanting you to do, and you can go and have a look at it, is we want you to attend both days where we can take you through a deep dive of Copilot for Microsoft 365 and then teach you how to write the right prompts so you get the results I'm talking about. So that's the offer we're making, and we put it at a really reasonable rate, so that you can learn about this technology. So as I said, it's all about the quality of the prompts. Now, just one resource I wanted to reference, please go to adoption.microsoft.com, go and have a look at the Copilot scenario library, because whatever your role is, you'll get more information about this. Okay, so absolutely. Let's take the last couple of minutes to answer some of the questions. So what I'm going to do is I've got the questions in front of me. I'm going to start from the bottom going up. And then while I'm doing that, if you do have other questions, please just type them in. I'll get as far as I can. And then if we haven't, we'll share with everybody the answers. Okay, so the first one is, how do you export a report showing users not using the license assigned? Once the report is created and has created the new view, that can be shared in Excel. The value of Copilot is generating the report. It's not the output. Okay, let me go to this one. Can you check grammar using Copilot? Yes. You write a prompt, please check the grammar. And then Rion's question is, if I use, formats I've used before, can I get it to be consistent? The answer is yes. You can templatize it. So you can create templates that would do the same thing. Oh, sorry, I only saw the repeat the step using a graph. All it was, believe it or not, when I created those trends, was a single click of a button. So it looked at the spreadsheet. It says there are trends here, and I said, please show me the trend. I actually typed it in. I will send you more information about that question. around how it generates these graphs. All right, very important, Rion's point here. And I want to stress this as well. Two things you've got to be aware of with CoPilot. First one, garbage in, garbage out. Prompts need to be done in the right way. Two, you've got to test the content that comes back to you. I have seen sometimes that it goes, the chat GPT is not perfect yet. Sometimes it goes a little bit nuts and returns some really weird things. So please don't use it and send. You have to use it and test. I use CoPilot not to make me lazy, but to make me better. So please, very important point. Also, your company needs to look at security, because CoPilot's going to find stuff. And if you haven't secured it properly and your company doesn't have proper, content management and processes and policies in place, potentially sensitive data could get exposed. So when we look at user adoption, one of the things we focus on is, are you managing your documents properly? Sure. Can I create audit procedures from the policy applicable to the section I'm reviewing using CoPilot? I'm going to have to find that one out. What a wonderful question. Please, if you don't mind, we used to call it higher grade when I was at school. I'd really like to spend some time researching that. So I will come back to you on that one. Can CoPilot show its working data insights in Excel? You can again, Jaco, it's all about how you write your prompt. So prompts are everything here. Anything you could normally do in Excel, if you do it in the prompts, we'd be able to solve that. So again, we're busy working on end user courses, of how you can use CoPilot effectively. We are going to learn as we go. So it's going to be more of a workshop, I think. So again, lovely question. I will look at that as well. And Rion, absolutely. Can you create it on an ABSA template? If you create the PowerPoint inside of your template, it'll apply the template 100%.
So there is a question also about duplicates. The two employees were working on a sales pitch using AI.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is it'll cite both. So even if you both come up with certain information, it'll still cite the original reference. So even if two people get exactly the same info, interestingly enough, often just the prompts are slightly different. So the way that you write the prompts will influence it, but it will always cite.
Okay.
And then last, Rion's question about document management. Rion, you have to set it up front, as in do proper document management, but there is protection inside of CoPilot. So depending on how technical you are, we do have a technical course for one day, which looks at the security elements. So, how do you set up the document management? How do you set up identities? What policies should we can talk about document management, but it does secure it. It does secure it. So it says here, a lot of my content is based on internal. Does document management apply? You need to apply it on top. So in other words, you do that to 365, CoPilot will do it.
Sorry, Tim, just quickly, there's one about Visio that Alan posted early on in there.
Yeah, Visio I haven't looked at, to be honest. So I'm going to go and have a look at that. That's going to be my homework tonight. I will just explain to my wife that I have to now look at Visio rather than watch Netflix.
Maybe you can just ask CoPilot 365 what it thinks about Visio.
Yeah. Dear CoPilot, Visio is an interesting one. They're rolling them out as they're going along. So if it's not there, I will check the rollout schedule if there is. But again, we'll come back on anything we haven't answered. I promise we'll answer for you.
So I think in the interest of time, we've got about a minute left.
Yes.
I hope you all really enjoyed the session. Tim, really fascinating. And I think you've given us some great examples of how we're going to make our life a lot easier. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Alan here.
Maybe we won't need you to draft the presentation. We can do it also. We can have it all done as long as our prompting is right. So, and I think,
can I just make a point? Sorry, Jonathan. Anytime if you want us to take this further and demonstrate it to other people, and you think my boss needs to see that, please won't you chat? We can re-deliver. We've recorded this session. Question around the activate. When you have the license, it does it automatically. As the license is given to you, it activates the CoPilot. Unfortunately, you don't get a 30-day eval. Another bit of feedback we've asked for.
Yeah. So,
but please, you got my email address, eh?
Yeah, I think just in parting, again, Tim, really insightful, and I think there are very few people who have the knowledge that you do, and it's all about how we use the tools. And here's a great example of what we can do. And I think Mickey has posted in the chat in terms of the feedback. As I did mention, this is the first in a series of webinars we're going to be running about the impact at work. And the next one, Tim did chat on around data visualization. And again, using CoPilot, I think you've seen the power of what can be done to make our life a lot easier. So please look out for those emails. And without further ado, I'd like to wish you all a great Friday. And thanks very much for attending. We really do appreciate it. Thanks very much, all. Sorry, Nadia, you have a question? Or was that?
I think the hand's up. I think it's just a...
Thanks again, Tim. Thanks all.
It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.